The Galactic Academy did not welcome quietly. It loomed above the planet like a crown of glass and steel, an asteroid hollowed and remade into a fortress of learning. From orbit it glittered, its crystal towers catching the light of the nearby gas giant, shining like a beacon for all who dreamed of command. Every cadet knew the ritual of arrival. The Academy gates were more than security. They were ceremony. Twin spires of crystal, taller than warships, stood at the entrance. Between them shimmered the scanner veil, a sheet of humming light. Every cadet would step through. Their name, heritage, and planetary allegiance would appear above them for all to see. Their peers would cheer, sneer, or judge. The message was simple. You are more than yourself. You carry the pride and reputation of your species. The line moved forward, clear Earthborn. The scanner pulsed green, and a towering amphibian strode confidently through. Gil fronds shimmering as his cohort clapped him on the back. Clear Clade. Mandibles clacked in satisfaction as a spindly insectoid's designation blazed overhead. Clear Amorous Pod. The cadet glowed faintly, bioluminescent glyphs rippling down their skin. Other Amorous sang a harmonic note in greeting. Every skin ended the same, green, approval. Then came Mira Solis. She walked with measured steps, her black cadet uniform freshly pressed, boots polished until they caught the light. She wasn't tall. No exotic horns curled from her brow, no wings shimmered from her shoulders, no bioluminescent patterns marked her skin. She was ordinary, human. And that made her extraordinary. Mira stood before the scanner veil. Her chest was tight, her hands steady at her sides. She could feel the eyes of 100 cadets drilling into her back, waiting for something to mock. She stepped forward. The hum of the scanner veil deepened. Glyphs of light swirled around her body, mapping her biology, parsing her DNA, pulling her identity from the marrow of her bones. The pause stretched long, too long. Then the gate exploded with red. Crimson glyphs blazed high above her head. Projected in every language of the Academy, Earthborn do not engage. The courtyard froze. For a heartbeat, silence crushed the air. Then the laughter began. Earthborn. I thought they were extinct. Primitives, here. Better check her for fleas. Cadets doubled over in mock howls. One mimed throwing rocks. Another held his nose. A group of insectoids chittered a savage rhythm, as if mocking the drumbeats of tribal war. But Mira didn't flinch. She didn't glare or snap. She simply walked forward, eyes steady, boots striking the ground like a drumbeat. The guards at the gate didn't laugh. They froze. One's hand twitched toward his weapon. The other looked at his companion with unease. Mira caught it. That flicker of fear. Not amusement. Not mockery. Fear. She walked past them, through the courtyard, as cadets continued to jeer. Inside, her heart hammered so loud she thought they'd hear it. But she didn't look back. The scanner had not malfunctioned. It had spoken the truth. The warning wasn't for her. It was for them. The dormitories of the Galactic Academy were carved into the asteroid's inner walls, a honeycomb of chambers glowing with pale blue light. Each hall smelled faintly of sterilized air and the tang of ozone from constant atmospheric cycling. It was not a place of comfort. It was a place of discipline. Mira walked into her assigned wing carrying nothing but the Academy-issued bag, slung over her shoulder. Conversations died the moment she entered. Dozens of alien eyes turned toward her. Gills flared. Mandibles clicked. A pair of amorous cadets pulsed faint green light across their skins, a color that Mira didn't recognize, but from the way others snickered, she knew it wasn't flattering. Earthborn, someone whispered, loudly enough for everyone to hear. Did you see the scanner? Red, never seen that before. Means defective, dangerous, maybe both. The words stung. But Mira kept her face blank, her eyes forward. She'd learned long ago that nothing enraged bullies more than silence. Her bunk was the lowest on the far wall, shoved between a humming coolant pipe and a cracked viewport that gave only a sliver of stars. She set her bag down carefully, ignoring the constant whispers around her. By nightfall, the gossip had turned into performance. Insects clattered mandibles in mocking rhythms. Amphibians croaked tales of primitives who fought with sticks and stones. An amorous cadet projected holograms of humans in loincloths chasing animals with clubs. Exaggerated, cartoonish, humiliating, Mira lay still in her bunk, staring at the cracked ceiling. Her heartbeat was steady, her breathing slow. She had expected this. What she hadn't expected was how much it felt like being home. Humanity had always been mocked, underestimated, dismissed. This was nothing new. When the laughter quieted and the dormitory lights dimmed, Mira sat up. She tapped the edge of her desk, and the holo display flared to life. She hesitated. Then she whispered, "Let's see what they're afraid of." The academy archives were locked behind layers of access, but Mira's father had taught her well. He'd been a historian of sorts, not of heroes and victories, but of truths that governments tried to bury. If they locked it, Mira, he had told her, it's because they're afraid of it. Her fingers moved quickly, slipping through code gates, bypassing old security flaws. She found herself diving deeper than any cadet was meant to go. And then she saw it. Earthborn do not engage. The directive repeated across file after file. It wasn't an insult. It wasn't mockery. It was protocol. She opened a redacted war report. The holo stuttered, then resolved into grainy footage. Human ships. Crude, jagged silhouettes of steel and iron. They were nothing compared to the elegant spindles of the Council, but they moved with reckless precision, engines burning bright. One slammed directly into a capital vessel, the explosion blooming like a new star. Another report. Tungsten rods, hurled from orbit at hypersonic speeds, tearing through shielded cruisers. No plasma, no elegance, just physics. Another. Ground troops in cobbled-together armor, railguns rattling in their hands, charging mechs that should have been invincible. They didn't stop. Even when cut down, the line pressed forward, overwhelming the machines with sheer determination. The text alongside the images made her breath catch. Council losses unacceptable. Human aggression exceeds projections. Recommend Sol system containment. Her eyes burned as she read the final directive. Engagement with Earthborn units is prohibited. Quarantine enforced. Threat level. Red. Mira sat back in her chair, chest tight. The scanner hadn't been a malfunction. The guards' fear hadn't been confusion. The Council remembered. Humanity hadn't been sealed off to protect them. They had been sealed off to protect everyone else. The laughter of the dormitory cadets echoed faintly in the hall beyond her door. They thought Earthborn meant weak, defective, primitive. They didn't know the truth. Earthborn meant dangerous. Earthborn meant unpredictable. Earthborn meant never again. Mira leaned forward, staring into the dim hololight. Her reflection looked back at her, tired and resolute. They think we're a joke. She whispered to herself. Good. Let them think that. Because sooner or later, the truth would surface. And when it did, the galaxy would remember why the warning had been written in red. The trial dome was a spectacle. Steel walls curved high overhead, latticed with beams of light. The floor shimmered with shifting panels that could rearrange the terrain. At the instructor's command, rocks rose, pits opened, gravity itself flexed and twisted. The academy designed it this way to humble cadets, to remind them that war was chaos, and only discipline could survive it. Cadets filled the observation tiers, chattering in a dozen languages. Laughter bubbled here and there, most of it directed at Mira. She'll trip before the first shot. Maybe they'll give her a stick and let her play savage. I almost feel bad for her. Almost. Mira ignored them. She stood at the edge of the arena, eyes forward, hands steady. Her pulse was hammering in her throat, but she refused to let it show. The instructor, a tall insectoid Dern with polished mandibles, clicked his jaws in amusement. Combat Trial 1. Objective, survive. His gaze landed on Mira, and the clicking turned into something sharper. Cadet Solus, you will lead the engagement. Gasps, murmurs. The sound of dozens of alien cadets thrilled at the thought of her failure. Mira didn't react. She simply nodded once. The gate at the far end of the dome groaned open, and the beast came out. A Threxian war beast, bred and engineered for carnage. Its armored hide pulsed with glowing veins of plasma, casting an eerie light across the arena. 4 meters tall at the shoulder, jaws split into hinged maws dripping molten saliva. Each step it took made the floor tremble. The crowd roared approval. Perfect. She'll be lunch. Earthborn versus a war beast. She'll be a stain. The instructor raised a claw. Engage. Cadets beside Mira opened fire immediately, rifles spitting bolts of plasma. The beast's shield flared, absorbing every shot in a haze of sparks. It roared, the sound vibrating through the dome, and charged. One cadet, to slow, was swatted aside like a rag doll. He slammed into the wall and crumpled to the floor, groaning. The crowd laughed. The beast turned, plasma dripping from its jaws, and fixed on Mira. She raised her rifle. For a heartbeat, everyone thought she would finally prove them right. That she would panic, fire wildly, miss, and be torn apart. Then she let the rifle drop. It clattered against the steel floor. The jeers came instantly. She's surrendering. She doesn't even know how to use it. But Mira wasn't surrendering. She was thinking. Her eyes flicked to the cracked wall panel where the other cadet had slammed earlier. Sparks still bled from the exposed circuits. Weakness. A weapon. She sprinted. The beast roared and thundered after her. Claws gouging the floor. Mira reached the panel, gripped the twisted metal beam, and pulled with everything she had. It tore free in her hands, a jagged support rod, heavy, crude, sparking at the edges. She turned just as the beast lunged. Its jaws opened, glowing hot enough to melt steel. Mira dove under it. The heat seared her skin, but she didn't stop. She rolled beneath the beast's bulk, came up at its flank, and drove the rod into the joint of its foreleg. Metal screamed. The beast bellowed. The shield matrix flickered, stuttering into static. Cadets gasped. Shields weren't supposed to break that easily. The beast swung around, secondary jaws snapping, plasma drooling from its maw. Mira didn't back away. She climbed. Her muscles screamed as she scaled its armored hide, gripping seams, dodging swipes. It tried to buck her off, but she clung on, every motion precise. She reached its head. The secondary jaw opened wide, glowing bright enough to blind. Mira jammed the rod deep into the hinge. She twisted with all her weight. Circuits popped. Sparks showered the arena. The beast howled, its legs buckling. For one terrible second, it convulsed beneath her, thrashing so hard the whole dome shook. Then it collapsed. The war beast lay twitching on the floor, its shield dead, its body sparking and smoking. The dome went silent. Mira slid off its back, chest heaving, sweat running down her face. She dropped the rod with a clang. Her voice cut through the silence, calm and unshaken. Manuals tell you how battles should go. I fight the way they actually do. For a moment, no one moved. Then the whispers began, but not mocking this time. What did I just see? She killed it with scrap metal. She fought like a human. The instructor stared at her, mandibles parted in shock. He had seen hundreds of cadets fight in this dome. None had done what she just did. And in the shadows above, council observers shifted uneasily. Their eyes weren't mocking, they were afraid. The summons came at dawn. Mira had been awake for hours, lying stiff in her bunk, staring at the cracked viewport that showed only a sliver of stars. The dormitory was quiet now, the other cadets asleep or pretending to be. The air carried the faint metallic tang of recycled oxygen. But beneath it Mira swore she could smell anticipation, sharp, cold, like ozone before a storm. The door hissed open. Two guards stood there, armored in the academy's black and silver. Their helmets reflected the pale light, faces unreadable behind mirrored visors. One spoke, voice flat and metallic through the modulator. Cadet Mira Solu, you are summoned by order of the Commandant. Immediately, the whispers started as soon as she rose. They're expelling her. No. They're executing her. Maybe dissecting her. Mira ignored them. She slid from her bunk, tugged her uniform straight, and followed the guards without a word. Her boots echoed against the steel floor, every step too loud in the suffocating silence. They didn't take her to the training halls or the command offices. They led her deeper, down corridors few cadets ever saw, past heavy blast doors and security fields that shimmered with contained energy. At last, they emerged into the academy's central atrium. It was vast, a cathedral of glass and light carved into the asteroid's heart. The dome arched high overhead, transparent enough to reveal the endless stars beyond. Ships glided silently in orbit, their hulls glinting in the pale dawn of the nearby gas giant. The atrium floor was polished black stone, so smooth it reflected the light above. In the center, A raised dais glowed faintly with embedded runes. Around it stood a ring of alien officers, their uniforms gleaming with the symbols of rank and species. And above them, on tiers of seating carved into the walls, the cadets watched, hundreds of them. Their voices buzzed in a storm of whispers until the commandant entered, and silence fell like a blade. Mira's throat tightened. The commandant was stern, massive, with 3 jaws scarred from old battles and eyes that gleamed like shards of obsidian. His presence filled the room like gravity. When he walked, the sound of his armored boots reverberated in the bones of every cadet. "Cadet Mira Solis," he said, voice low, deliberate. It carried without amplification, vibrating in the air. "Do you know why you stand here?" Mira swallowed, her voice steady despite the cold in her chest. "No, Commandant." He studied her for a long moment. His gaze was heavy, as if weighing not just her words, but her very existence. Then he raised a clawed hand, and the runes embedded in the dais flared to life. The air above shimmered. HOLO- footage filled the chamber. At first, it was sound. Thunderous impacts. Screams cut short. The metallic roar of engines pushed beyond tolerance. Then came the images. Human ships. Jagged silhouettes of steel and iron, engines burning unevenly but bright. They were crude things, nothing compared to the sleek elegance of council vessels. And yet they moved with lethal precision, swarming like hornets, reckless and relentless. One ship, rusted, half its hull missing, slammed directly into a council cruiser. The explosion bloomed like a second sun, tearing metal apart in waves of fire. Another cut to orbital strikes. Massive rods of tungsten dropped from the sky, falling silent and invisible until they hit with the force of gods. Shields flared, shattered, and failed. Cities vanished in plumes of dust and light. Gasps rippled through the cadet tiers. Many had never seen this footage. The council had buried it well. The commandant's voice rumbled beneath the images. "This is why the scanner lit red." Mira's heart hammered. She kept her face still. "Your kind," the commandant continued, once brought the council to its knees. Not with brilliance, not with elegance, but with brutality, with stubbornness, with tactics no doctrine could predict. You were quarantined for a reason. The holo shifted again. Ground war. Human soldiers in cobbled armor, faces smeared with ash, charging through smoke with railguns and explosives strapped to their bodies. They fired wildly, chaotically, but always forward. Even as mechs cut them down, the line pressed on. Cadets shifted uneasily in their seats. Their whispers were sharp now, tinged with disbelief and fear. Impossible. They fought like animals. No, they fought like something worse. The commandant turned, his eyes locking onto Mira. "The directive remains. Do not engage. Not because you are weak, not because you are primitive, but because you are chaos, fire, a threat no doctrine can contain." Mira's chest tightened. She felt the weight of 1,000 eyes pressing down on her, waiting to see if she would break. But she didn't. She held the commandant's gaze, silent, waiting, and the chamber held its breath. The holo still flickered above the dais when the silence finally broke. It wasn't orderly. It was chaos. Cadets shouted across tiers, voices overlapping in disbelief, horror, and denial. Those ships should never have pierced shields. How could primitives overwhelm capital mechs? This has to be false. Propaganda. Others said nothing at all, their faces pale, their eyes darting to Mira as though she might sprout fangs and lunge at them. One insectoid cadet hissed, mandibles clattering, "If this is true, then the Academy has admitted a contagion into its halls." A chorus of nervous agreement rose behind him. The commandant slammed the butt of his staff against the stone. The sound cracked through the atrium like thunder. Silence returned instantly. "Enough," he growled. His eyes never left Mira. "Step forward." Mira obeyed. Her boots echoed on the black stone as she mounted the dais. She stood at the center, dwarfed by the towering alien officers circling her, and lifted her chin. The commandant leaned close, his scarred jaws inches from her face. "Cadet Solis, do you deny what you have seen?" Her throat was dry. She wanted to say yes. She wanted to say, "This isn't me. This isn't who we are anymore." But the words wouldn't come. The truth was etched into her blood. "No," she said quietly. The commandant's mandibles twitched. "Then tell this tribunal what you are." The air thickened. The cadets in the tiers leaned forward. The officers stiffened. Mira's voice came steady. Earthborn. Gasps rippled through the chamber. One officer snarled. A reptilian creature with scales etched in gold. You dare to claim it openly. I don't have to claim it, Mira said, her tone sharper now. The scanner already told you. The reptilian officer hissed, stepping forward. But the commandant raised a claw and stopped him. Another officer, tall and crystalline, spoke with a voice like shattering glass. Primitive. Your kind should have been extinguished. You should never have been allowed beyond soul. Mira's chest burned. But she forced her voice to remain calm. Yet here I stand. The crystalline officer's facets rippled with anger, but he said no more. Above them, the holo shifted again. This time the footage was closer. Faces of human soldiers, exhausted, scarred, but unyielding. Eyes full of fire. Voices shouting in languages long suppressed, rallying comrades, singing through the smoke. Mira felt her knees weaken. She gripped her hands tight behind her back. One face in the holo looked too much like her father's. The commandant studied her. Do you see now why you terrify them? She said nothing. They look at you. He continued, and they see this. He gestured to the holo of bloodied soldiers pressing forward. Not discipline, not honor, but something that breaks the rules of war. Something no doctrine can predict. They fear it because they cannot understand it. Mira's chest ached. For a heartbeat, she wondered if she should apologize, if she should tell them that humanity had changed, that the red designation no longer applied. But then her father's voice echoed in her memory. History is written by survivors. Mira and humans survive. She straightened. I see, she said. The commandant's dark eyes searched hers. Then answer me this. Will your people return as students or conquerors? The chamber stilled again. Cadets leaned forward, waiting for her to break. Some smirked, eager for her collapse. Others held their breath, fear gleaming in their eyes. Mira's heart pounded so hard she thought it would burst from her chest. She wanted to run. She wanted to scream. But she did neither. She lifted her chin, and she chose.